This is Andrew Williams Jr. And we have Lisa-Anice Supthen this morning with us. And she's going to introduce herself and then give us an update on what's happening in her world. Thank you, Lisa. The floor is yours.
My name is Lisa-Anice Sutphen, and I am a member of the International Dance Council division of UNESCO, which is the United Nations Engineering, Science, and Cultural Organization. The background that you see is my workroom, which serves a number of different functions. Right now, it's set up to work with clients that I teach on Zoom. For the first 12 years of my working on this project, I was working within one of the gym locations of the YMCA. And of course, due to COVID, that got shut down. Being 12 years in the program there, working on this project, you can imagine I didn't move up like other people would. I stayed on the ground designing programs for every age in need to prove the viability of dance, not just for mind and body, but for community as well. So when everything shut down, I was already at the top of the pay grade in several different categories where I had worked as both an instructor, personal trainer, and occasionally helping with sport programs, plus the administrative fees. So when the time looked right that everyone was going to start opening their doors, my clients were informed that I would not be returning. I didn't know this, but that's all right. During that time, I had already shifted. I'd been pestering them about policy and procedure for virtual training. And finally, during that period of time before telling my clients I wasn't going to be returning, they gave me the okay. And so that's it. And of course, my motto on that, shift or perish, which is what's happened with an awful lot of people out there. They've seen their work perish because their work wasn't able to do any shifting or couldn't figure out how to get it done without it being on a major scale.
Right.
Yes, so I've kept this on the micro scale. These are individual clients, all with what is more popularly termed mobility illness. These are issues of the structure and of course all the systems associated thereof when people do long-term sitting activities, working at a desk, working in a hospital, where there's tons of administrative work. By choosing to get into these professions, which are incredibly demanding upon your time and presence, a lot of people wind up getting injured. So the majority of the people that I work with are people who have been executives, doctors, nurses. They make up the vast majority of my clients.
Well, just to let you know, I fall in that category, so we'll talk about that offline.
Well, yes, there's a process, and of course you have to get equipment, but don't worry. My training as a dance sport judge, because I am registered with the World Dance Council as a championship judge. I'm also registered as an official with the World Dance Sport Federation for the obvious reasons of I have to step in and talk to them.
Right, right. Well, before we go further, please share with our audience your website or contact information for those that aren't here and do want to follow up with you.
Oh, certainly. I'll put that down right now.
Well, because there's only you and I here, our global audience won't see it. So you need to say it verbally as well, if you would be so kind.
Okay. Well, it's Lisa-Anice Sutphen, member of the International Dance Council. My registration number is 18349. And that's with the United Nations Engineering, Science, and Cultural Organization. And my website is danceandfitnessconcepts.org. That's all one word. And you can easily get hold of me through there because we just started setting up registration for email updates. And once people get in there, they can make requests, and I can see if we're able to satisfy those requests, or at least answer questions. So 18349 CID UNESCO. So that's in the chat, and I'll put my email address in there as well.
Got it. Thank you so much. And as you're typing in, I'm just briefly doing a walkthrough of the first page of your website. So when you get through, then I'll turn it back over to you and stop sharing my screen.
Okay, I'm done with typing.
Okay, well, ball's back in your court.
Ball's back in my court. My job, as assigned by UNESCO's International Dance Council, also known as the Conseil International de la Danse, I am the pivot point in an internal war between the World Dance Council and the World Dance Sport Federation.
Now how does that impact the upcoming Olympics, where breakdancing is one of the Olympic sports?
In 2017, the World Dance Sport Federation pulled me into a world qualifying event in Vancouver, Canada, so that I would speak with their International Olympic Committee cohort. At that time, they told me about their intent to try to manage breaking and wanted my opinion, and I gave it to them. I told them it was ill-advised, that they had no knowledge of the culture. It was that breaking is one of the 4 pillars of hip hop culture, and that by taking it on, they'd be committing appropriation. Not only that, appropriation has been ruled by the World Court as of 2013 as a form of cultural genocide. And what he did was he went back to Moscow, spoke with the presidium there of the World Dance Sport Federation, and resigned his position.
Wow.
Then after that, I started seeing little bits and pieces, starting with several crews that I had worked with out of the Philippines to try to get them travel and accommodation here for the World Championships of the organizing groups Axe and Evolution. That was back in, I believe, 2015 and 2016. But they soon disappeared from conversation back and forth, as well as all the records that they had of conversation that we had. I found out later that a number of individuals on those crews had been brought forward by the World Dance Sport Federation to dance in the World Championships, which are still in development.
Well, I have a 1-minute video here about that. So let me see if I can briefly share that, so at least we can have some reference, and then I'll get your input as to how relevant this is. Give me just a second here. It's only a minute long, so let me just do this here.
Oh, that would be cool to tell to my grandkids that I was in the Olympics. I think breaking being always competitive. The battles is always about the winner, who wins or who someone is winning, someone is losing.
It takes years and sweat, blood and tears for us to create a move, and so I think like overall like society needs to understand a little bit more of how amazing this art form, just like as football, as a soccer or a basketball player. Hopefully I'm being hopeful that it's gonna be a positive result after all, so regardless who's gonna be judging, how it's gonna be judging, who's in control of this, who's competing, who's coaching, all of that, at the end of the day, it's something that makes hip-hop, it makes this culture rise above, this is all that matters for me.
So just that was just a brief video online a couple of years ago. It seems that the actual people participating believe that At least it gives us some exposure that otherwise it wouldn't have. But what's your viewpoint on how we can go forward with this?
What I would go forward with is be able to show the International Olympic Committee that the hip hop community has every single one of those 7 points that the IOC has designated as qualifying them to be national governing bodies, both here and in other countries. Hip hop culture long has been community support and community supported. Here in the United States, for at least 2 generations, hip hop culture has fed their communities, counseled those who are incarcerated, fed and clothed the elderly, and saw to it that people who had mental illness got into programs that would give them proper treatment. It has been how hip hop communities across the country here in the United States have operated for quite some time. Hip hop culture is the largest arts culture on the planet. This is something that the powers at the top know, which is why we do see things like WDSF Real, which is what I think you just showed me, trying to see how many they can move away. Many, many corporate entities have made billions of dollars off of hip hop culture, while at the same time trying to discount it as being oriented with the ghetto, oriented with crime, and drug use, which is no, completely untrue. Born in the same area, yes, but hip hop culture is a method of protest against the powers that have kept people who are Black and brown under their thumbs and in dire straits for hundreds of years. It's a really horrible process. So as we move forward on this, showing that we do have that structure of possible upward momentum for deserving athletes and artists, as well as those in academia, for the continent of Africa, while we work on the greater project of battling climate change, seems like an excellent method by which to reconnect the hip hop community with itself and with its origins, and move toward managing breaking, which is fed by hip hop. Breaking is a dance of constant innovation. What I've seen on judging sheets is they mark certain moves that have to be present, meaning that while they're looking at those certain moves, that opportunity to innovate starts to pull down. It's like they're taking the art and they're freezing it in time. As we move forward on this, the idea here is to show how we use hip hop culture to achieve and encourage and nourish creativity, advanced thought processes, three-dimensional thinking, complex problem solving among our youth who are growing up in inner city areas or areas where resources from the government are few and far between.
Just a moment. I'm going to share your screen now with our audience. I'm in the chat there. Also, I put in the link to the Universal Hip Hop Museum. I'm on the National Advisory Board for that organization. This was founded several years ago. In fact, here in Los Angeles, there was an envisioning session that was held in 2017 that I attended, and that led to my being appointed to the National Advisory Board. They just broke ground in the Bronx, New York, for the Universal Hip Hop Museum. I'm going to briefly share this video. Just a second, please.
Hip hop is such an important, not just a cultural importance, it's also of social and economic development importance. When I think of hip hop has been the voice of the voiceless, the story of marginalized communities, where people can tell stories about the social inequities that are happening in communities, Black and brown communities, not just here in America, but all around the world. As long as hip hop is around, the museum will serve as a curator and an educational overseer, making sure that the kids have access to this culture through our collections, through our artifacts, through our storytelling, and through our programming that will be produced inside the museum and outside of the museum. As we share curriculums, we're creating something that people will experience worry-free from any form of a pandemic in the future. Open spaces, immersive technologies, using virtual reality, using holograms, just so that we make sure that people come in there and they feel comfortable. But more importantly, they feel like they're walking into a new dimension, a new type of museum experience. And that's what we're building at the Bronx Point.
So here in Los Angeles, we've been gifted to also have a West Coast organizing committee. And I'm on that committee. In fact, at 5 Points Youth Foundation, for which I'm president, that's actually where the organizing committee has been meeting for the last several years. We had a major breakthrough just on March the 9th of this year, which, as many may or may not know, was the date when the rapper Biggie Small lost his life here in Los Angeles, just outside the Peterson Auto Museum. So with the uptick in gang violence and also deaths across the country, the hip hop community made that a designated day for us to begin to focus on solutions to gun violence. And this is in leading up to September 21st, another annual event of hip hop worldwide. Last year, it was attended and supported by Ndaba Mandela out of South Africa, the grandson of Nelson Mandela, who is the chairperson of the Generation Hip Hop, for which I'm a brand ambassador. So I just want to let you know, it's so important, Lisa-Anice, that we take this opportunity now to begin to find ways we can connect and move together throughout the rest of this year and beyond.
I can definitely give you those connections here in the United States. 3 large organizations, as well as numerous artists. Just this last week, I've been approached by a fellow who moved here to the West Coast out of South Africa, and did that so that he could promote youth-based programs here in the United States. He said he'd been very eager to get a hold of me to see about getting into that system, and he's actually there in Los Angeles. There's also a group based out of Los Angeles that reaches across to refugees called No Easy Steps, or No Easy Props, not steps, props. No Easy Props. Asia One is their general director. I believe that's her title. I could be wrong. If not, I beg your pardon, Asia. You also have the Hip Hop Congress, which of course I introduced 2 weeks ago to the president of UnityNet Africa and Diaspora, Carlos. And so in so doing, we also got in contact with, I believe it was 14 different indigenous associations on the West Coast.
Wow. Well, yes. Let's make that connection.
Yeah, we do have an annual, a weekly meeting on Saturdays using an app called Clubhouse, which I would highly recommend.
Yes, now that's for Apple and Mac users. But now, do they have access for Android, or is that still Apple and Mac?
Yes, they do. They do have usage all across the board. I use them on my Android phone.
Great. Well, I'm just going to briefly again share my screen. This is Tina Tyler. She's actually the one that orchestrated the Hip Hop for Peace town hall that I attended here for Peace in the Streets. This was back on March the 9th. And we're working together now again to move forward with ways that we can build on the momentum here in Los Angeles, because not only are we the heart of hip hop, we're also the heart of the gang culture, unfortunately, around the world. So the intent is for us to empower our young people by demonstrating the power of hip hop to have positive change. It was in fact in 2012 when I was first introduced to hip hop as the higher inner power helping and healing our people. That was introduced to me by Silky D. Williams, who was the first West Coast female DJ. So it's actually she who orchestrated all of my endeavors and activities here. And I just want to give honors and props to her. But let's find ways, Lisa, after this Zoom recording, that we can move today to connect those dots.
Absolutely. Let me see. I've got 3 hours of clients that's running until 1 o'clock, then an online meeting at 1:30, then others at 7 and 8 p.m. this evening. So
okay. Well, slot me in after your 1 o'clock, after you have a chance to get yourself connected, and I'll set aside maybe a half hour or so, and we'll redo this, but I'll try to bring in stakeholders that can make this an action plan, not just a conversation piece.
Absolutely, and I will let I'll let those individual potential shareholders know. There's also a large East Coast organization called Child of the Culture. They've developed a judging system, as well as the group that came to Los Angeles from South Africa. So something that's a little more geared toward encouraging the creativeness of hip hop culture in breaking. So moving forward on this, I'm more than happy to connect you. You guys are gonna be exploding in your little brains coming up with this is so exciting for me. So exciting.
Well, look, we've taken up not too much time today, but I noticed there's a 15-minute video on your website at the bottom there. So if it's okay with you, I'm going to wind up this conversation with you with that video, and then we'll follow up from there. If that's convenient for you?
Oh, that'll be just fine for me. I've got a client in about 20 minutes, so it should just work it out fine. Go ahead.
Here we go.
Working fitness programs came as a result of a jacuzzi at the gym next door to the Pick School of Dance in San Francisco.
I'm not sure why it's all blue. Give me just a moment.
Okay.
There we go.
Yep. It's blue again.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, let me see if I can just start from here.
Where I taught and trained. It was a great way to deal with aching muscles. One afternoon there, working fitness programs came as a result of a jacuzzi at the gym next door to the Pick School of Dance in San Francisco, where I taught and trained. It was a great way to deal with aching muscles. One afternoon there, I saw this woman ushering in 3 classes of developmentally disabled adults, and thought I'd step up and offer myself as a substitute when she had the need. And so this is how it all began when she left the country and I took over those classes. A background in working with populations at risk had me modifying the classes to address the 2 largest issues this population has: trauma and communication. The end result was a series of lectures to day centers and observations from groups in the Pacific Rim companies that were looking for solutions. Then a letter from the offices of the First Lady of the state gave me an idea. And I started saying dance at every opportunity when working at the Y. Of course, dance wasn't the only word that I used. I combined it with dance sport, dance art, restorative dance, therapeutic dance. And then finally, in 2006, I was asked to demonstrate a format design for Presidio Middle School. I started teaching older adults and worked as a facilitator on the Optimal Wellness Project, keeping older adults with developmental disabilities out of 24-hour care. That program wound up being vendorized into 3 counties and ran for 2 years. In 2009, I taught a 12-week after-school series to 3 groups of 4 to 6-year-olds at the Diabla Chinese Immersion School on Haight Street. Rumba, Cha-Cha, Chinese Tango were the subjects, and we interspersed them between the team building, the cultural dances. Changing that lesson every 5 minutes was the only way we managed to avoid complete chaos from taking over. And that end performance was absolutely wonderful. Following that, I moved to the Presidio location of Hawaii and started teaching all the older adult formats, adding personal training in 2010. In the spring of 2011, I got a call to advise Norman Yee, who was then the vice president of the San Francisco Unified School District, about how to expand a little project of his. When I went to observe, what I saw was 4 schools dancing 5 dances, and not rightly, in a room packed to the rafters with screaming family and friends. So I told him to put his seed money into after-school programs, and the whole thing, it took off as a perfect fit. No one needed to be told their job, as Norman already knew who to go to. This first video is from the program as it was when I first saw it.
It's the San Francisco Young Dancers Program. The program is to introduce social dancing with emphasis on Latin to 4th and 5th graders so that they have a sense of what it takes to be participating in partner dancing. Unlike other countries and other places like New York, many of our students have not been exposed to dancing. It was a 10-week program where we introduced the 5 dances to the students. For many of these kids that were participating in this program, the dancing part wasn't all that easy, and yet they overcame it. There's a sense of accomplishment when kids are interested in things and they actually are successful at something that translates into other things. You can see the joy they had in conquering that dance. What it took was a village to make this happen, and that's what we had. The people that participated with me, they had the same passion and they were willing to do their parts. That support was there from the individual school sites to administrators, principals to parents. It was a passion of wanting kids to be exposed to as many things as possible so that it's a richer life for them. You could enrich your life by learning things that you thought was only part of somebody else's culture. That showcase day, I think it was a beautiful moment for everybody. I mean, the comments that I received from all the people that were there, from deputy superintendent to principals to teachers to parents, they all said the same thing. He said, this was such a wonderful program that the kids enjoyed. It wasn't just the students, but it was the teachers, the staff, and all those several hundred parents that showed up. You could see it in their faces, the pride they took when they saw the kids dance. That sense of pride and joy of an accomplishment, you can't take it away from them. That's what I was hoping for the kids that would participate, and that's what I saw.
And so we worked the program for 2 years until Norman Yee ran a successful political campaign to become the District 7 San Francisco City County Supervisor. I then started petitioning Lee Wakefield, then president of the National Dance Council of America. And the following here is the material I sent to him ahead of time so that he could have some information about programs that I designed. When the Y discovered in 2012 what I was doing, I handed them the following contract. I had no idea what I got myself in for. Petitioning politicians during the lobby period of summer sessions yielded positive results, as well as soliciting attempts by interested dance personnel to try to get into the system in their own cities, just for terms of opening discussions. 2 states and 2 cities volunteered to try to get the program throughout their systems. A sample of these solicitations sent to all 50 state senators, governors, and representatives is what you're going to see now. By the following summer of 2013, I found myself pulled into online forums in front of world dance leaders I had only read about, arguing my position and dealing with what was often open hostility for just wanting an after-school program. A number of people were of valuable assistance, from the organizer who helped me break the Freedom to Dance page to the Olympic medalist 4 times from a different sport, whose support helped to keep the flying monkeys on the social media at bay. During this time, social media followings and procedures helped to build interest and promote the idea of changing the business models of the dance as a whole. I was asked to outline my methods for the success of fitness classes for older adults using dance-based principles, an outline that became Enhanced Fitness for the Y of the USA. The following was submitted in June of 2014, as well as the version with sample choreography presented in fitness language. The program itself was rolled out in September of 2014.
Enhanced Fitness is a class to help you stay active, to challenge you to try new things, and to lead an independent lifestyle. It really fits a lot of different groups, a lot of needs, and we modify so that if you are sitting in a wheelchair, we figure out a way to make it work. The Enhanced Fitness program is a program that is evidence-based. We start out with a little fitness assessment, and in 16 weeks, we do another one. And at the end of 16 weeks, we actually give a report. And so what we see is we see improvement. We make it a place where everybody feels comfortable, everyone is challenged, and everyone feels like they have a place in the class.
I was in physical therapy, which ended last December. And I talked to my therapist about what could I do to continue the progress that I had made. She suggested that I come over to the Y and get into this class.
I was diagnosed with a particular condition that meant I needed movement, and the class provided that for me.
We always start with a warm-up, and then we do some balance exercises and cardio. We go into arm and leg weights. This class is endorsed by the Arthritis Association, and so you're not having to hold weights. You can put them around your wrists and still participate. And then after weights, we have just some stretching and cool down.
My balance has improved, my muscle tone, because we're using the arm weights and leg weights. I have built some muscle in my arms and legs both.
I enjoy it. I like coming. gets my day started.
I mainly have noticed confidence, I think, in moving. And I always, walked a lot and things like that, but I fell once or twice, tripped, and then just, your confidence, you just don't feel the same. So this has helped with that.
They're my friends, we're a family, and they're involved in my life and they give me advice.
It's a great group of people, very diverse professionals and retired people, so it really is fun.
I'm a recent widow, and so this was a way of getting out and having something I could do and would enjoy. So that's really, in many ways, what I get out of it, in addition to keeping my physical strength.
We miss people when they don't show up today. We were kind of going through the people that weren't here today, so it really is important for everybody to show up.
It passed the time before you know it. An hour seems hardly enough, but it's enough, but it seems hardly enough because it goes so fast. The days that I don't come, I feel something is missing.
It's just fun, it's a community.
Three government studies revealed a 90% compliance rate by participants as compared to the 56% compliance rate in the predominant program Silver Sneakers. Enhanced Fitness, as of spring of 2018, is now in over 400 systems across the country. For 2 years, one-day dance-based fitness festivals were presented on or near International Dance Day to much success. I also put together the outline for bipedal assessment on the J-spine, also known as active spine assessment. This was based upon movement assessment backgrounds, both learned as a dance sport professional and judge, as well as a life of work with those with a variety of developmental and physical challenges. A presentation regarding restorative Pilates and yoga was given at the Marfan Foundations at both Stanford and Sloan Kettering in June of 2014. At the time of COVID, I was slated to present to the National Marfan Foundation in Boston, July 11th through 13th of 2020, on ballroom and partner dances becoming approved physical activity for those with tissue and cardiovascular disorders. Sadly, that did not occur. From 2007 to 2019, I was a teacher in the adult school programs for first the Albany, then the West Contra Costa County school districts, teaching social dances first to older adults, and following with adult refugees from up to 8 different countries in both Albany and Richmond, California. This was pursuant to a group project to convince Cal State to offer degrees in dance, which they began in fall of 2019. As of now, those degrees are in ballet and modern dance, but that should change as a result of continued work on the project as a whole. Approval from Y to mentor dance, competitive dance and dance sport came at the same time as well. In the last 2 years, I have been exposed to 3 first-tier business models that would accommodate community partnerships endemic to the needs of the program as a whole.
Well, there we go. Thank you so very much for allowing me to share that. I know your time is about to wrap up, but now any closing thoughts? I'm just going to end the recording here, Lisa-Anice, and send this along to the people that we want to invite. So I want to ask you also, if you could send me at andrew@andrewnetworks.com an email that would allow me to introduce what we're doing and then move forward from there.
Excellent. Happy to do so, Andrew. You enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much. We're going to wind it up here with Lisa-Anice. Give me just a second. I'm going to screen back to her webpage, then we'll wrap it up. And here we have dance and fitness concepts. All right, thank you so much. I'm going to end the recording here and have a fantastic day.